Evening, everybody. Welcome to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the Land, part of the Land Multimedia Group. I am Ethan Greenberg. Alongside of me are Mike Pellegrini and Drew Hagenbaugh, my co-hosts. How are you fellas doing this evening?
I'm doing well at 2:22 in the morning. Thank you very much. How are you guys?
Doing well, Ethan. Long time no see.
I know it has been a long time. I don't know. No, folks, this has been kind of a fun evening, a little bit different. Schedules change, things happen, but a little earlier, also on the Land Multimedia Group, Drew and I hosting the Let's Go Crunch podcast. One of Cleveland Crunch's own, Omar Najjar, was playing in the soccer tournament. For those of you, many of you might know the basketball tournament, a little bit more well known, but the soccer tournament is definitely getting bigger. It's very popular, exciting, and it's being held down in Cary, North Carolina. So we were watching Omar Najjar play down there, and that was just a really kind of an excellent experience. It's fun. It's different than anything else. Anything else you see around, whether even it's a little bit of a mix there between the indoor soccer and your traditional outdoor soccer. So we were there. Just came off of that, and here we are now. Mike, you were watching along with us. Watching the soccer tournament. What was your impression of that? Had you seen that before?
I'd literally never heard of it until you guys messaged about 2 hours prior, letting me know you were going to jump on for a podcast. I had no clue what it was. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know who was playing. I then quickly found out that Sergio Aguero's got a team, Nani's got a team, Pepe Reina's got a team, Balotelli, you know, the Italian legend of Mario Balotelli, he's apparently playing for, I think is it Nani FC or something?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Very cool. But one thing I will say is it was a bit disappointing that I couldn't see the goal at the end.
Yeah, we were all disappointed. We have no idea. I did finally get a response. So my friend Madison, who is down there in the Raleigh area, and she's actually she is volunteering, working at the soccer tournament. She wasn't watching this evening or while we were watching. So she had no idea what was going on. It seemed something happened with the camera, and all they had was a stationary camera right down the center of the pitch, down the, at midfield. And so you couldn't see the game-winning goal because it's a target goal when they play two halves, and then the team that's leading, you need one more goal. After that, that's the winning score, or the other team has to reach that mark anyway. But it was fun. It was fun.
At least we had to stream, unlike Steel City decided to cancel their screen like during the middle of the season opener for
Leviathan. Yeah, that was tough. As we were watching again for Leviathan, part of USL2, Lorain County Leviathan FC played in Steel City, and the stream went out for a good 20, 30 minutes. And kind of the funny thing is, you almost cursed it, Mike, when Leviathan hosted. They had their home opener on Monday, and we're watching, and all of a sudden the camera or the feed did the same thing it did for Steel City, and I was like, oh no. And it was kind of crazy because Leviathan certainly has the facility and the capacities, a little bit better broadcast setup than Steel City did for sure, but
I think that's turnout as well for the home opener. I'll shout out to them. I know they lost, unfortunately. With some questionable refereeing decisions, but what was it? Just over 2,000 people turned up.
Yes, it was an amazing turnout, and I mean, if I were there, I certainly would love to be up at a game just to see the atmosphere. They had a march from a local establishment. What is it? Cameos? Is it
Cameos?
Yeah, and they walked. They took a march from the pub or the bar to the stadium. They had bagpipers. It's just amazing. For those of you, if you're in the Northeast Ohio area, if you get a chance, go on, check out the USL2. Not just Leviathan, but Akron City FC. It's Cleveland Soccer SC, and
I think it's just Cleveland Force. It's
Cleveland Force.
Cleveland SC is the NPSL, I believe.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got that confused there. But yes, so you've got a number of squads to go and check out in Northeast Ohio, as soccer is kind of really blossoming in the area. And again, looking forward to when the MLS Next team and WPSL Pro team get underway in Cleveland. All that being said, a lot has happened in the past week. Not all good, especially. I think we just need to rip the Band-Aid off, guys.
Yeah.
Band-Aid off. Let's have a little chat here about the Cavs. What did they let us know? They let us know that they had no legs and the psyche was broken after game 1. You blow a 22-point lead with just over 7 minutes or something, 7 minutes to go in the ball game. We talked to Tim Alcorn after game 1's loss. He made us feel a little bit better, actually. Honestly, I can't believe that was only a week ago.
Yeah.
I was losing track of time, but we felt, okay, all right, this is a tough team. They have been through this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just went downhill from there. That moment and that stretch was just crazy. You could be critical, very critical of Kenny Atkinson in game 1 for not calling a timeout. I know that in speaking with Tim Alcorn, he said he kind of has a philosophy, and it sounds like it's very analytically driven from all the other things he said. Guys, all jokes aside, what did you make of the series? What did you make of Kenny Atkinson and the kind of bizarre comments he made? And just as a footnote or something to put out there, we weren't sure, is Kenny going to have a job? And apparently they're keeping him. I think they're keeping Kobe Altman. Nothing is changing there. We don't know what's going to happen with the roster, though. But, Drew, what do you think? What did you make of just the comments? How did that strike you?
I mean, it was just weird because the fact that you sit there and say, like, oh, well, analytically, we're up in the series. And it's like, well, analytically doesn't mean anything.
Right.
The everything is on the floor. Like, analytically, I don't care if you're analytically 2-1 up in the series. You're analytically losing and getting your butt kicked in every night in and night out. That's what's analytically happening. I don't get why he said that. It made no sense to me. I also saw that a lot of the bench players kind of had a falling out with Kenny, excuse me, with,
it was a Freudian slip. It was a Freudian slip there. Kevin, Kenny. It seems like
Kevin, Kenny, same person.
Practically.
But but with Kenny, yeah, they had a kind of a falling out because nothing was relayed to them. They weren't kind of like involved, it seemed like, in much, and they had no idea what's going on. So you kind of saw why the bench was kind of atrocious, because they weren't even clued in what was going on. So it seemed like there's going to be a falling out, and the fact that he's staying around, it's I don't know. It's kind of showing Kobe Altman a little bit too, because it's like, dude, you see like the players are kind of not going with Kenny at this point. Why keep that guy around? Why force a relationship there? And, don't get me wrong. Like you said, not everything's on the coach. Like, obviously the players have to do the bulk.
They got to make a
work.
shot.
They got to make a bucket. Yeah. And a free
throw. They
got
to defend.
Like, my God. Yeah. You got to defend. You got to hit free throws, which we couldn't even do in the series. So
no, they were mentally broken. And I'm sorry to interject. And Mike, I want your take on it as well. But Mitchell kind of came out and publicly supported Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of the centerpiece here, and we're going to get to what moves could be happening and what the initial scuttlebutt is after that just complete butt whooping, complete dismantling. I don't know if New York is hot or Cleveland is just that fatigued, and there's a whole lot we could discuss about that. Mike, I want to get your thoughts first before I kind of interject with just some things that kind of flew into my head as Drew was talking. Go ahead. What are your thoughts about it, Mike?
So for the series itself, I think it came down to the fact of the rust versus rest factor a little bit. And like the Cavs in the first two series needed to get those series wrapped up before game sevens. And teams generally I actually spoke about this in one of my write-ups. I think it was after the elimination game where teams generally stretched their starters in the playoffs, give them more minutes to get the series over with as quickly as possible, basically. And the Cavs didn't do that. Kenny Atkinson basically kept his regular season rotations for the large part of those two series. Yes, he slimmed the number of players down a little bit in the second series to like 9 guys, but the starters were still getting regular season minutes. And I think that's what kind of cost the Cavs, because they ended up playing 7 games in both series. And then the Knicks only played 10 games over their 2 series. So that's an extra, 16 periods of basketball under their belt coming into this series. And I feel like that kind of cost the Cavs after they blew the first game. The first game, when they were fatigued, but they were going up against an opponent who was a bit rusty, they had to take that game, because of what I just said, because it was their best shot to get ahead in this series. And as soon as they lost that momentum, when they're fatigued, they were just done.
Yeah, they mentally broke. And I think I feel like we've seen this before. This was deja vu all over again. I wonder, guys, in the grand scheme of things, and also, Mike, I will say, you talked about like an additional 16 periods of basketball. Well, we also had some overtime games.
And some overtimes. The problem is, though, as well, like Kenny stuck to his regular season minutes with the starters. And that kind of backfired in the end.
They're not like battle tested, not battle. They're cardiovascularly.
There were stretches where Jarrett Allen wasn't on the court.
And then they'd be like, his decisions are mind-boggling. They are mind-boggling. And I'm really scratching my head. But let me try and throw this out there and to you guys to get your thoughts on this, because we did talk about this and we watched it all season long. The team never really was fully healthy. Even after the trade deadline, one guy would get injured. Then the next guy would get injured. Max Strus finally is going to be able to come back. And they never had it all together for a long period of time. Now you talk about, so I think that makes a difference in terms of where they were at as a unit heading into the playoffs. This season devolved into, in my opinion, a lot of this isolation ball. I don't think that was the intent, or is the intent, of Kenny Atkinson's offensive philosophy. Because we watched it last year when they won 64 regular season games and the ball was whipping around to open guys who were making shots. It's not just about driving and kicking. It was actual ball movement, and that's just something we didn't see. And then again, with the fatigue factor, they weren't making their shots. When you're trying to shoot threes and you don't have any legs, that's going to be difficult. But I also question the strategies of, not going to your bigs.
I was going to say, what happened to the Twin Tower? James Harden came in, and back into the regular season, he was finding Allen and Mobley in the paint.
Yeah, I don't understand.
He kind of went away from it a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't understand why. Was it the strategy of the other team defensively that prevented the Cavs from doing that?
But I think you have to get creative, and it seemed like there were just no answers. Now, again, when guys, we saw it, first of all, turnovers. What was with all the turnovers? Was the turnovers because of the defense? Was the turnovers just because they were mentally never there? They got lucky in being able to get by. I mean, being able to have more talent than Toronto and ultimately more talent than Detroit. And they showed up when they needed to. But you ran into a New York team that is just on a roll. They took their lump in like game 1, and they lost 2 games to Atlanta by 2 points combined. But by the end of that series, they gave them a drubbing, and they have been just rolling through. I have to question or wonder where these players' minds were at. I don't know if Kenny tried to simplify things with the rotations, or not with the rotations, but in what they were running. Drew, you mentioned the players had no idea what was going on. I don't think he did. I think he was flying by the seat of his pants.
Well, and I think a lot of that was doing part that you said earlier. The ball used to be moving around. It was flowing. I think once you brought in James Harden, a lot of that stopped because number one, you still had injuries to, some starters. And obviously a lot of these guys haven't practiced much together and played any games together really. So now you get fully healthy for the playoffs and you really don't know what to do because you have two completely different guys in Mitchell and Harden, who one brings up the ball very quickly, one brings up the ball very slowly. One guy gets centers involved, one guy likes to create. So there's a different mix, and you don't know how to kind of like when you don't have practice time together, when you don't have all the pieces together, it's hard to kind of drum up plays and it's kind of hard to figure things out on the fly. So I think that played in a lot of it was like, hey, look, at this point, we're just going to kind of have to do whatever, create yourself, do whatever you can yourselves, because I can't really draw anything up when I have two completely different people out there and they're double teaming. We don't know how it makes it a little bit difficult, and teams saw through that and they made it harder because they were looking for James Harden to make the pass down to centers. They quickly doubled him and forced him to move the ball somewhere else.
We never adjusted. We never
adjusted.
And by the time we would make an adjustment, I mean, especially in that 22-point blown lead, not only did we not call the timeout because, apparently Kenny's philosophy for whatever reason is to hold on to those things. We didn't make, he said, basically he tried to make some changes or strategies, but call a timeout and make the changes. It was too little too late.
But if you see the subs that he made, it was all offense orientated.
Yes.
Because it was just switching between Struz, Merrill, and Wade.
Yeah.
I think it was, but you never went more on a defensive approach. You
Go
never
to
Bryant or Keon Edison to
exactly
stops. It was all about trying to generate more offense.
Yeah, and they didn't need it at that very moment. What they needed is some defensive stops, and they needed their big guys to make some plays on the inside. So now we look, I think for us fans, it's hard to look at it and say, well, we took a step forward, because they did ultimately. They went from the past 2 seasons winning 1 game in the second round to winning a second round series.
Yeah.
And so now you're in the conference finals. What are you going to do next year? And Mike, I think you mentioned it to me earlier, right before we started, you're talking about how, what the Knicks, where the Knicks were and where we might be in terms of what we might do to change things up. The Knicks, they fired Tom Thibodeau last year after being in the conference finals. They lost to Indiana. Indiana was just on an amazing run. They got some luck, some fortunate breaks, and finally their luck, unfortunately for them, ran out in the finals in Game 7 to have Halliburton, pop his Achilles in the first quarter of Game 7 against the Thunder. But all that being said, they decided to move on from Tom Thibodeau, and we're scratching our heads a little bit going, you just went to the conference finals for the first time in forever. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? They bring in Mike Brown, and I'm sorry, I don't see Mike Brown as some tactical genius. I've seen this guy. We witnessed him in 2 stints in Cleveland. And the first stint was way more successful, of course, because he had LeBron James. And he got completely depantsed by Stan Van Gundy.
I do wonder though what he learned from being on Steve Kerr's coach.
Well, what about Kenny? Kenny was on Steve Kerr's staff.
I wonder. Yeah, so
they were there together. In fact, I think this has to do with the players just as much as anything.
Yeah. So
let's talk about the players.
The Knicks made very minimal adjustments between roster of last year and this year as well. So they just changed the coach, and I think they made a couple of small moves. They bought some guy in at the deadline. I can't even remember his name.
Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado.
Yeah, and then they also bring in Clarkson.
Yeah, they brought in Clarkson too.
But their entire core and top three guys off their bench remained. They didn't really make any drastic changes, really. It was all just about a little bit of depth at the back end, and that was it, really.
It was, definitely. So now the question turns to, we were all wondering, is Kenny going to have a job? And, we were calling, I think we were all pretty much ticked off and ready to see him out the door after that performance. The team stopped playing. They stopped defending. It was just, they were broken. I'm sorry. From what we saw, the evidence said they were not only physically fatigued, they were mentally fatigued. They didn't have it. Now you have to wonder, was it a situational thing, or is that just who they are? And I'm leaning toward that's who they are in the larger scale. Maybe a game here, a game there. And certainly to play through all these injuries between Kenny and the players, they had to do a lot to get over 50 wins and to get where they got, having all that inconsistency all season. James Harden has kind of been a lightning rod. People don't love him. They said he chokes in the playoffs. He had his moments, not great for sure. Nobody was good in the conference finals. But he certainly didn't shine, and that's kind of been the label he's had. As everybody was lamenting, and we were all saying, get him out. I don't want to pay this guy. Well, as I've listened to local sports radio and people who know a lot more than I do, my understanding is he has a player option, but the discussion apparently, which you can't have, is that they're going to extend him. And the benefit of extending him, so either he's going to sign a player option for like $40 million, or you're going to
$42.3 million player option. And the Cavs are probably going to extend him to like a 3-year, $90 million deal. So they'll save about $12 million on the cap.
Right, and that'll get you below the second apron.
Yep.
And which is very important when it comes to what moves the team can make. And then you start looking at, all right, what other moves can be made? Would you want to make? I will say this for one. I do not want them to stand pat. And I hope that Dan Gilbert doesn't allow that to happen because he's going to be heavily involved. Mm-hmm. And I hope he voices his opinion to Kobe Altman and Mike Gansey's getting interviews, though, is he not, for GM?
He's the guy that's getting interviewed by the 76ers. I totally forgot that Kobe.
Isn't that no? Well, GM. Johnny Bryant, the assistant coach, is apparently going to get interviewed by the Bulls.
Correct.
Now, I think our GM is that Gansey.
Gansey's getting interviewed with the Philadelphia.
Right, I believe so. Because they just fired their GM, their genius who orchestrated the process.
The process.
Yeah. We see how that's gone for them. The discussion, of course, centers around, no pun intended, Evan Mobley and what to do with him. There was discussion that apparently at the trade deadline, and I don't know what at the time the situation was on the health of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but apparently there was a discussion about some kind of a trade with Milwaukee, which would have resulted in Evan Mobley going to Milwaukee and the Cavaliers receiving Giannis, and there would have been other parts of it. I think they wanted some draft picks and so on and so forth. There's, of course, discussion out there talking about LeBron's a free agent. LeBron James is a free agent. People are saying, he'll come here for the minimum. And there's other rumors out there that say he ain't coming for a minimum. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's even going to be a possibility.
Windy shut that down yesterday, didn't he? He said, from what he's heard so far, currently, LeBron won't be taking $3 million. He's not going to take that much of a pay cut.
No. So how do you even make that happen? And I don't think he's only a veteran minimum $3 million player. He's worth more than that. He's not prime LeBron, but he brings so much more than that, even if he only plays 60 games, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did see somewhere that LeBron talked to the Lakers saying, if they're not going to give him the maximum, then what are you going to do with that extra money?
I saw this today. That
Yeah.
they basically his team wants the Lakers to lay out a plan basically to show him like what they're gonna like spend.
Right.
If they're
Which is
not willing
smart.
to pay him the max, and if he doesn't agree to it, he's probably gonna leave soon.
I think he's going to be gonzo from. I could see him being like, I'm done with this. He has felt apparently disrespected by the organization. What they talk about that game ball, that
Yeah.
was given to somebody else. Stories are coming out. If I were him, they were talking about it on ESPN Cleveland. He's playing a lot of golf.
Yeah.
Feels like he's ready to hang him up. And I wouldn't, if I were in his shoes, I might think the same. Like, what else do I have to do? What else do I have to prove?
Well, and I did see the rumors of the Cavs potentially trading Jay for LeBron.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know about that. I think you would keep Jay. You'd want to keep Jay around.
Well, the question would be if you. So I think under those circumstances, are you saying? I would love to know the other pieces and parts of it.
Well,
is it you're keeping Evan, but you're trading JA?
Thing is, I think this is the most realistic way to get LeBron personally, because if LeBron's not going to take the minimum, you're going to have to trade him player for player.
Yeah.
Right.
Who have I heard that the Lakers have been interested in for like the last 2 years?
Donovan Mitchell?
Like Allen.
I don't understand that. Like,
they need a big. They don't.
But have they?
Ayton? It's not good enough.
Oh, Ayton stinks. But have they? Unfortunately, and this is not. I love JA. Yeah. Okay, I think we all do. He is a fan favorite. We pick on him, but his personality is not a take over the game guy.
No.
Most of the time. Every once in a blue moon, he kind of gets super mad. I can't even describe it. Like Game 7, JA, they said on ESPN Cleveland when he had a great month of February, they're like Black History Month, JA, and which is hilarious. But most of the time he's very mild mannered.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get the fire out of that guy. But hey, if the LA wants to take him, so let's say then, Mike, Drew, if the Cavs were to have maybe Mitchell, Harden, LeBron, Evan, Mobley, and the rest of the cast of characters, I guess Strus is still under contract.
Strus has got 1 more year left, but Windy said he's a candidate for a trade because he's in his final year of his contract.
Right. Sam Merrill, Tyson,
Schroeder and Ellis, I believe, are under contract.
Right. So you've got.
I think Ellis is technically a free agent. I think don't they have like
we can pay him because we got his bird rights. I think did I hear that?
Like that,
yeah. We got his bird rights or something. Yeah.
So
he's gonna fly the coop. But what would you think if that were a lineup? Let's say you've got the Mitchell, Harden, James, Mobley, and fill in a name. Tyson, Merrill.
Mobley, though, if you commit to the LeBron JA trade, because I'm not being funny, if that's the offer to get LeBron back for say 2 years, you're not going to turn down that offer, in my opinion.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that's actually
move Mobley to the 5. Could that work?
I would. Yeah, absolutely. I'd move him to the 5. But my problem is, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, please. I don't think he can be physical enough. It just genetically.
That's my concern.
Yeah, because then that was gonna be my thing: is would you rather trade Jay for LeBron, or would you rather make the Mobley Giannis trade and have a bigger guy and a bigger body?
I'd rather do Mobley and Giannis.
What about both? What about if you just completely you take the risk?
Then who do you get to be at the 5? That's the issue.
You get older, but you probably give yourself a better chance of.
So Mike, your suggestion would be Giannis, LeBron, Mitchell, Harden, and some other 5th player.
Yeah. You take the risk. I know you're going to be older, but the Cavs window isn't realistically very big anyway. So with this current core, we're already going into year 5 technically. We've had 4 years of Strus,
Mitchell,
I agree. JA and Mobley.
I wouldn't want. I think I could see all of those players being here, but I was hopeful that they wouldn't have to use JA. I would have liked to have kept JA as part of it. Having Giannis and then being able to bring in LeBron as a free agent, have JA, Harden, and Mitchell. But if that's not realistic, my thought is, I don't think your chances are any worse. You may only get like one shot at it.
This is what I mean. I think the Cavs' window with this core is not very big anyway.
It's
so
closing.
You could just take the risk, and you might it might be a 2-year window with those 4 guys, but it's better than just sticking with what we've got, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree. Look at it's one of those things. You get these guys who are at the tail end of their career, and try and put them together. You guys might remember this. You might be a little bit young to remember this. The year that the Lakers brought in like Karl Malone, Gary Payton. Trying to think of this was with Kobe. It was Kobe and a bunch of guys who hadn't been able to get over the top to win a championship. Do you know?
Wasn't this like late 90s, early 2000s?
It was sometime in the 2000s.
You're talking about Fisher and Gasol times, or was that later?
I don't know. Was Gasol on the team?
Well, wasn't this like, was this what, 01, 02 or something?
When they had,
I'm going to look it up right now while you guys are, while we're continuing to chat.
This when they had Fisher and Odin in their team.
2003 to 2004.
2004. Okay.
Yeah, 03, 04. It was Shaq, Bryant, Payton, and Malone.
Okay.
And they ultimately in the finals got dismantled by the Pistons.
Yeah, because then the Pistons that was when they had Rasheed and Ben Wallace, and
they had Hamilton, Rip Hamilton,
yeah, Rip Hamilton,
Billups,
Chauncey, it was Chauncey Billups,
and I mean they had some other. I mean they it was a great matchup for them, and they just shredded them in the finals. Yeah. But it was that type of situation where they're like, all right, we're going to add this veteran, like, and Karl Malone, and we got this guy Gary Payton, who hasn't been able to get a win. We're going to try and put this together, but it's ultimately they ran into a matchup that they couldn't get. So I kind of feel like, look, the Cavs, as you said, Mike, their window is already getting shorter and shorter and closing, and unless you're going to we don't have the draft picks.
I think this is the other thing. I think it's between now and 2031, we have like one of our own. The rest of them are like, not even our own picks. Like,
right. So because the other strategy then is you trade away a big piece for draft capital if you can, and it's going to take a couple years to then even be remotely relevant again. Because if you look at it, what happened to the Thunder after they traded all their pieces away? Because you had the year they went to the finals one year, and they were in the conference finals. So they had some, when you had Harden, Durant, and Westbrook, and then ultimately they end up dismantling everything. And it took a while. They got all these draft picks back. And it took them years. And then finally they started getting the right draft picks. They made, as you pointed out, Mike, and I had forgotten, the fact that SGA was acquired in a trade from the Clippers.
Yep.
And so, again, it's how do you want to do it?
It's not Harden. Sorry, Mitchell's not going to accept a rebuild.
No, he's not. So then if that's the case, you gotta make some moves.
Yeah, I mean,
which is why I kind of think Kenny's going to. Why is Kenny staying? They've decided we're going to keep the coach, but we're going to change 2 or 3 of the core players, like whether that's Strus, Mobley, Allen. A couple of them are going to go. Dean Wade's a free agent; he's probably going to be gone.
Well, yeah. Even as I don't think I wouldn't re-sign him. He's got a ceiling on how much I would be willing to pay him.
One thing I will say about Dean Wade though is if they do sign him, don't be surprised if they then trade him afterwards.
That's a fair possibility. It just depends because you've got to work the salary cap here. I need Andrew Berry to come over to work the salary cap magic. Keep us out of the second apron and everything like that. I don't want to be in the kitchen. I want to be on the basketball court, not dealing with aprons. So yeah, all in all, guys, it's going to be an interesting off season. At this point, I am rooting for whomever comes out of the Western Conference to kindly destroy the Knicks.
It's going to be the Thunder, unfortunately, after watching how last night went.
I believe I
think the Thunder is going to win the next two games. One of the next two games.
I tend to agree. They seem to have figured it out, and with that in mind, I want them to destroy the Knicks. I am just tired of the media fawning over them just because they're from New York and making it out like this is some fairy tale story. Get out of here, please. Please get out of here. And I've hear go New York, go New York, go. You can go home because
am I recalling this correctly? Like, so the Knicks haven't been to the finals. Was it since 97?
99
or 99?
It was a strike shortened season,
and they played the Spurs. Is that correct?
That is correct, and they lost. They had guys like Larry Johnson. I'm trying to think who else was on that team. I was traveling with the Canton Crocodiles baseball team when that finals was going on. And I think there were some players on the team, or at least one player who was originally from New York, Jess Siciliano. I recall he was a pitcher. But yeah, I was definitely they had some miracle play in the playoffs that Larry Johnson got a 4-point play in like the conference finals. It was a ridiculous call. And I did like Larry Johnson, honestly. He was quite the character, and played so long and he played so well down in Charlotte for the Hornets in their their original iteration. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's where the NBA is. I was kind of relieved when the season ended, when they lost on Monday. It was just a relief.
When we lost Game 3 and got embarrassed at home, I was like, just get it over with. Like,
yeah, it needed to end, and because I just think that even winning a game, it would have been like, do I really have hope? I'm not buying into this again. I'm not doing it.
The only reason that I wanted us to win in the end was to just try and help the West out. Give them an extra game, like make the gap between series for them be a bit shorter. If that makes sense.
Definitely. No, I agree. But you know what team is winning in Cleveland? The Guardians. Gardos all the time. They avoided a sweep today. Big win over the Washington Nationals after the Nationals jumped on our pitchers 2 nights in a row. First, Tanner Bybee, who is handing out home run balls like somebody hands out candy on Halloween. And then Joey Cantillo got smacked up early in the ballgame. He went 2 innings. He had almost 70 pitches, 60.
Yeah. We got outscored 16-5 in the first 2 games.
Right. It was brutal. And so at the same time, the Cavs are getting their brains beaten in on Monday night. Next door at Progressive Field, the Guardians are doing the same. But today, Gavin Williams held down the fort, gets the dub. Cade Smith makes it a little bit shaky in the 9th, but the Guardians get the win 3-2 over the Nationals. They remain in first place in the AL Central. And again, I continue to reiterate that the Central is the Guardians' division to win. The big news, though,
do you mean it's their division to lose, to like throw away at this point?
Well, I would say it's theirs for the taking. It's theirs to win. But you're right. It is theirs to. You can put it that way too. Agreed. I mean, either way you want to put it, and I don't know what I'm saying at this juncture.
I'm still surprised though that the White Sox are the team that's chasing them down. Like, who expected that? They've got this Japanese. Is he third baseman?
Yeah, I'm not
sure. Like 20 home runs or something. Like, he's leading the charge for them, apparently.
It's kind of crazy, and the Guardians have not played the White Sox yet this season, so those are going to be some showdowns. Whereas the past few seasons have been an absolute laugher because the White Sox have been so darn bad. But the big news was the announcement that comes out this morning. First thing, you start seeing reports like Jeff Passan and all these other reports. Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs, native to Cleveland Heights, Northeast Ohio's own. He is he's purchasing or a minority interest or ownership. I'm not sure how much he's paying into it, but he's going to have a piece of the Cleveland Guardians. I think it's along the lines of probably like what Myles Garrett having some ownership of the Cavs, that sort of. Patrick Mahomes has it with the Royals.
Mm-hmm. Mahomes tweeted, didn't he? Congratulating him.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
but
he tweeted congratulating Kelce for it. So
I just want to know what is the impact going to be? Will Taylor Swift be increasing our payroll? Will we be getting a big bat due to Taylor Swift? I'm really not counting on Kelce's salary and earnings. Did you
see the tweet about her Eras Tour bonuses, staff bonuses, was like double of our payroll?
Yeah.
But then someone did point out that the tour was over 2 years. So even then, the bonuses she paid out was slightly greater than like our payroll.
Our payroll for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
So I just Googled because I know the dollar amount is undisclosed, but it says the franchise valued at approximately $1.7 billion. Even a fractional equity share, such as like a 1% stake, is typically acquired by athletes and MLB teams, is mathematically estimated to be worth $17 million. I mean, so it's close incredible. To 17 to 20. So it'd probably be around 17 to $20 million he put in.
Yeah, so that's about a fifth of our payroll.
Yeah, about a fifth of the payroll.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Maybe we could hold some extra concerts, some Taylor Swift concerts at the
unless Taylor loaned him some money.
She might have. I mean, no, I gotta say that's interesting and it's cool. I know that some people, Aaron Goldhammer, question him and the love for him when. In terms other than play, I mean, he hasn't played for Cleveland, obviously, versus they were having this whole debate about the love for Travis Kelce versus the love for LeBron James. And it was very interesting. I think the thing that I don't believe they specifically brought it up. A lot of people don't like LeBron James and don't give him that, just the love, without any hesitation, because he left the city twice. And there's a lot of
what do people want?
There are scorned lovers. I've got some good friends who are scorned lovers.
He brought me the happiest day of my life, and I'm not even from the
I understand, and I am the same way. I felt the first time he left was a betrayal, and the way it was done was so distasteful.
Mate.
But I didn't have a problem with him leaving for LA. It sucked, but I wasn't hurt. But there are other people who are just felt completely betrayed after he came back and they won a title and he took you to 4 straight championships. Don't tell me if they didn't have him, they weren't going to 4 straight championships. It wasn't going to happen with that group. He led that, right? I think that Travis Kelce coming back and doing all he's doing is amazing. Cleveland doesn't often get that. You've got a lot of people who are involved and come back. And I think that even people who aren't native to Cleveland grow to love the fans. They grow to love the city.
Well, the fan base definitely grew overnight. I'll tell you that, because all the Swifties are going to become Guardians fans now.
Hey, man, if that means more people, more butts in seats, and more money coming to the state, all right. I want to see a whole line of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift apparel available at the team shop.
So I don't know if you guys saw it, but I don't actually watch the podcast. I just see like the Twitter videos and stuff. TikTok video, sorry. And he, I don't know if you guys noticed that he announced that he's attending the Tigers game on the 14th of June.
Yeah, I did see that. That amazing. And
I wonder
they're
if Taylor's going to be there
married
with him, or
on.
is he just going to be on his own?
Well, he said he wanted a redemption at the first pitch because
it was terrible.
It was all he spiked it into the ground.
It was almost a Baba Booey. It wasn't.
I think he almost killed Shane Bieber.
He did. It was terrible. And then, like, oh my goodness, yeah, he's got to redeem himself. He can't go down in history as like the worst first pitch behind Baba Booey,
Carly Rae Jepsen,
50 Cent.
50 Cent. Oh my God, 50 Cent's probably up with the worst.
I mean, those are just some brutal. You got to calm down out there. I feel like people are so in their head. And then when you try and do this wind up thing, I know it's like a for show, but at the end of the day, get the ball to the plate.
Well, it's funny because did you see someone made like a TikTok of like NFL players doing first, especially quarterbacks doing first pitches, and they're like, how can an NFL quarterback throw a ball 60 yards but can't throw a baseball like 60 feet? And he looks so like uncoordinated when trying to do it.
I don't. That is a very good question.
It's like Dolphins quarterback did it, didn't he? He went to, was it the Marlins game? Because
yes, Malik Willis,
miles away from the plate. Yeah.
Well, and it was CJ Stroud did it too, and he short armed it or something.
Yeah, do you think that they sometimes not just trying to look like a pitcher, but also, when they throw a football, It's a different motion, and maybe they don't want to try and overthrow it.
Well, I think they try to put the football motion into the throw, and then it just does not go well. But
anyway, you slice it. But on the actual diamond, guys, what do you think? I mean, the Guardians have they had a phenomenal road trip. They take 4 in Detroit, and then they had a great series in Philly. Took 2 or 3 to win 6 of 7 on the road?
Yep.
I mean, a very, very impressive road trip. Travis Bazzana with that home run, I think, on Sunday. What a shot to the second deck in right field. I mean, an absolute rocket launch of a home run. He is certainly settling in. They've been playing him in the leadoff spot, and that's been good. Moving Quan down further in the lineup has seemed to be a better move for him. I mean, overall, the offense is coming around. The warm weather is going to help, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Bazzana's got our second highest batting average at the moment on the table behind Brian Rocchio. So,
yeah, and I mean, very impressive.
I will say, when I did go to the game today, they interviewed Dre Knott after the game interviewed Travis Bazzana, and the biggest question he asked him was, moving up to the leadoff spot, what has changed? Are your thoughts still the same? Are your, do you change anything at all? And Travis is like, no. I mean, it's all about just keeping the swing the same, keeping everything that's been working, just keeping everything the same. He goes, it's whether you're batting first or ninth, everything stays the same. So he goes, and plus I was a leadoff batter my entire life, so I'm just used to being a leadoff hitter.
Yeah, it's really incredible how he is the right mentality.
Yeah,
and
he just keeps it simple. Like everything to him is simple. Simple thoughts at the plate. Simple. His swing is simple. Everything's just. It's like what we thought of Steven Kwan a couple years ago. Everything was so simplified. It's like he just keeps it nice and easy. Now for Kwan, he doesn't hit for power, but for Bazzana, that kid could, like you said, hit the ball to the second deck if he gets a hold of it.
Yeah, and I think that. So I don't want him to try and turn into a power hitter.
No,
that's not. And when they tried to add power to Kwan's repertoire, really I think it messed him up. It's good. We need, first of all, Kwan's defense is tremendous. So I don't want to lose that. He's better than, it's not like a Miles Straw kind of bad, right? Where Gold Glove defense, a putrid offense.
Yeah.
And right now he's down. He's hitting 207, but he's picked it up, from it was rounded to 200, 201. So he's had a solid few days. No. And he's coming around a little bit. Jose's up to 226. You're starting to put some things together. They're going to need to figure out this Tanner Bibee thing for sure.
Yeah.
And determine what is going on there. They talked about him possibly tipping his pitches. Were you guys, did you read up on that or have any idea of what exactly he might have been doing that?
So my buddy Sean, who was also at the game yesterday, and he was going to go with me today, but he had an illness. I think he got the stomach bug that everyone was catching in the city. But he noticed some when he was at the game yesterday. He's a big baseball mind and stuff like that. He's the guy I get some information from too. He noticed some like weird things about Tanner Bybee because he also watched the game with Tanner Bybee. And he goes, I don't know what it was, but he might have been making gestures, and or like every time there's like a pitch, like it's a fastball, he might like move like in a certain way, and it might be like, oh, when he does that motion, it's a fastball, or like when he does this motion, it's like a changeup or an off-speed pitch or something. So I think guys like James Wood and CJ Abrams and a couple others picked up on his movements and said, all right, we could read him and his movements. We know what he's going to throw. And like Mike said, they're the most aggressive team in baseball. So if you can read a pitcher and know what he's going to throw, they're going to swing away and they're going to go for it.
It's going to be pretty helpful if you know where the ball is going or what, if it's going to, whether it's going to be a fastball or it's going to be a slider or a changeup or whatever. If you've got that kind of figured out, because makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, because it looked like, I think he was saying it was like his footing, whatever, like he was like jerking his foot like a little bit, like slightly or something. And it's like, oh, okay. Or like he was like doing something where it's like, okay, that's like a fastball and he's like not moving. It's like a off speed or something. But I noticed today with Gavin, nothing. Like that dude's a stone on the mound before he even does a windup. He's just frozen. So like, I'm thinking it's like, oh my God, or Cantillo was Cantillo and Bybee kind of like doing different gestures when it comes to like their fastballs and off speeds that was giving it away. Whereas today Gavin didn't do anything, and he throws a gem of a game.
Yeah, and it's not like Washington, like it's they're as you mentioned again, and you reiterated this, Mike. You said it, the aggressiveness at the plate. I mean, Washington's only 29-28 after today's loss. It's not like there's some juggernaut.
Do you know what the thing that was weird? I found it a bit weird yesterday with Joey. Yeah, so they're the most aggressive team in the league. Yeah, they have the least amount of balls faced per hour, I think, in baseball. Yeah, yet Joey yesterday got up to like 70 pitches within 2 innings. Like, how does that add up? Like when they're so aggressive, like.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really it's a great question, and I don't know. But at the end of the day, you lose 2 or 3. That's not wonderful. Now you pick it back up. You got to win today, and now we got Boston coming in for the day off tomorrow. The Red Sox come in for the weekend. I mean, the Red Sox. I mean, they already fired their manager this season, right?
Yeah, Alex Cora was fired.
Yeah, they're sitting at 23 and 31.
30, yep.
31. They must have. I don't know if that includes tonight or what they're doing tonight, but
they're definitely going on the roads though. The Red Sox, because I swear I heard that they're on track for like their worst ever home season ever. I think
they're 9-18 right now at home, 14-13 on the road. So they played an even amount of games home and away, 27 apiece, and they're 9-18 at home. I will never count out the Boston Red Sox. You guys have seen me. You know what kind of fan I am. I don't know that I fan scared, but I fan cautiously. And I'm never going to overlook any of these teams and count them out or any of that crap. And I'm not going to sit there and start celebrating their demise early.
Sorry, I'm laughing because just watching or just seeing the Boston Red Sox on the schedule, it makes me laugh because I see the memes of if the Red Sox win, kids eat free, and the people are commenting, I'm like, oh my God, Red Sox, please win. And the kids are starving. Kids are dying because of you.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. Okay, so Guardians, they've got a big weekend series coming up with the Boston Red Sox. Let's move along here. I think we're going to kind of just moving around here and skipping around. Let's go to something across the pond. Come on, you Spurs. That was a bright moment to our weekend. The Guardians were good, but I mean, Spurs, for those of you who don't know the English Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur, when the bottom three teams get relegated, and it's big hit financially. Tottenham was fighting the relegation battle all the way till the last game of the season. They were on their third manager of the campaign, and they on the last day they got the win they needed. And ultimately, they had to have at least a draw because West Ham United, they got a big victory. They started scoring in the second half to beat Leeds, but Tottenham held on, a 1-0 win, and Kinski came up clutch. Mike, you may have said it that maybe on or somebody said it. One of the shots, which was like a great save, might have been partially because of bad positioning on his part. But Mike, you're right there. How elated and relieved were you that Spurs was able to stave off relegation? And did you really actually imagine them being able to do that a few short weeks or a month ago?
Well, I've been dismissing Spurs in the relegation battle for weeks, really. Like, I only got a bit worried. When was it? I don't know. When did we fall into the bottom?
It was a month and a half ago, I believe.
Because we fell in. We stayed in there for like a week and then came straight back out after the Villa game, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was about a few weeks, yeah.
So that was the only point that I really felt like Spurs were in a relegation battle. But like going into Sunday, I thought the first goal between either game was the most important. And luckily Spurs scored before halftime. West Ham was 0-0 at halftime. Because I feel like if West Ham had scored the first goal, then the energy at Spurs Stadium would have got a bit nervous, agitated, and so forth. And it could have been an issue, but luckily Spurs were the team that scored first across the two games, and it just settled everyone down. I did hear, I saw this, James Maddison, I don't know if you've seen any of his videos since Sunday, but apparently there was a fan behind him on the bench telling him every time West Ham scored, and he was like, I don't want to know, shut up, stop telling me, kind of thing. But then there was this one specific fan that was just sitting behind the bench, literally telling them every time there's a goal in the West Ham game. And I was like, really? Do you really need to be telling them?
But they
don't want to know. It's like
the crowd, the camera. Drew, you had to have seen this as well. They panned the crowd, and they're like, when West Ham scored, the cursing. You could read their lips, the cursing as they're seeing the score, like dropping F-bombs. And even though you knew, okay, all right, Spurs is up 1-0. If they just got to draw at this point, because of the goal differential. Now, Drew, you watched the game down at a Spurs backers type bar, right? Am I remember? My brain is all over the place. You did watch it down in Akron, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually a part of a group called Akron Canton Spurs, which we're a Spurs group, obviously in the Akron Canton area. And I believe some of our flags and whatnot have actually been shown at Spurs Stadium during some matches and stuff like that, our scarves. But yeah, we go to Missing Falls in Akron to watch the matches. I was a part of it since 2019. And yeah, I mean, we had both the Spurs and the West Ham game on inside the bar. So there's like 20 TVs in there, and like half of them were Spurs, half of them were West Ham, because obviously we wanted to keep an eye on both matches. So it was extreme. It was very nerve-wracking in the building.
I'll tell you something, right? I didn't actually put the West Ham game on until they went 1-0 up, because I was like, I didn't want to kind of like semi-jinx the West Ham game. So I was like, until they go 1-0 up, I am not watching that game. Yeah. Because if Spurs are like losing or it's 0-0 and West Ham score the first goal and I'm watching it, I'd start getting really nervous. So I only actually put it on once they were 1-0 up, because then at that point, the only thing that can happen is that they mess it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was interesting. I think we were Drew. I think you and I were talking about this. The way and Mike, you probably obviously you have a different feed or broadcast feed if you even had it on and you didn't have it on mute. But the way the broadcasters were presenting it here, instead of they made it sound as if even if they must win Spurs, and it's like no, all they need is a draw.
Yeah,
the goal differential. It was crazy. I'm like, what are they doing?
The game was on, I believe it was on NBC,
yeah,
or whatever, and they had on the drop down bar, it would say like, if current results hold, Spurs will stay up, but then it says like, if draw, there's possibility Spurs going down.
What?
The graphic was ridiculous.
Yeah, they screwed up the graphic. They said if in case of draw, there's still a chance Spurs go down.
Well,
or something.
Technically, Spurs could have gone down with draw, but it would have had to been like 13-0 to West Ham.
Yeah,
right. And it was that was ridiculous. I'm like, come on now.
Like you don't need to put that, because it's like, again, even if it's like, oh, West Ham win or whatever, like they still need to win the game like 14-15-0. It's like they're not going to win by 14 plus.
Premier League record's 9-0, and West Ham would have had to win 13 by 13.
Yeah, by more than more than 12 goal differential. Because it was Tottenham went in plus 12, right? So they would have needed to have been finished above them. What would have happened? Let me ask you this, because what's the next tiebreaker? If you have the same goal differential, is it head to head?
Goals scored.
It's goals scored. So
if it was head to head, we would have been screwed because West Ham beat us in one of the games. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's goals scored, because I think that's because they're talking about it when it was Man City and Arsenal tied at the top of the table.
Okay.
They were saying like, oh, they had the same exact goal differential, because I think they're both at like plus like 42, and they're like, okay, now you go to goals scored, and I think Man City had like 5 more goals scored than Arsenal did.
Okay, so that's great news. We're seeing lots of stories coming out, statements from Tottenham and the people who are in charge.
Of 3 straight days, we've seen the same amount of club statements in the last 3 days than we have the same amount of Premier League home wins in the entire season.
Yeah.
No, you talked about it, Mike.
Actions talk louder than words. That's all I'm going to say. Like, until they actually prove it,
right.
Yeah, all these statements as many times as they want, but the fans aren't stupid anymore.
Like you're talking about changing the pitch, you're talking about the medical staff and stuff like that. It's like, are you really going to change it though? Or
I'm relieved they're doing that though, because that needs to be investigated. Because
that stuff does.
Arsenal and Real Madrid have the most injuries in the last 18 months. and they're the only 2 teams that have a retractable pitch.
Yeah, and then the medical staff definitely need investigated, because even James Madison had issues with them. They're like, dude, this can't be happening.
So this guy that they brought in February, apparently, which I never knew about until I read Alistair Gold's article late last night. He used to be like one of the head medical guys for the England national rugby team, I think it was. So he's obviously well in the known when it comes to that kind of stuff. So hopefully he leads whichever new group they bring in, because I'm assuming they're probably going to clear out some of the medical people. So hopefully we see an improvement on that. But
and you could already see a couple changes too, because I believe the deals are official, right, for Robertson and Sensei.
Robinson's been Here We Go by Romano.
Yeah.
Is it Sensei or Senet?
I think it's Sensei. I think it's Sensei, Sensei, Marco Sensei. I know he's Spanish.
Yeah, but he posted, didn't he? My mate actually sent me that, but he posted on Instagram a thank you tonight to Bournemouth, so that could be announced.
Oh, Senesi. Yeah, you're right. Marco Senesi.
I don't mind those signings though, because they're free. Robertson brings you leadership and winning mentality. Plus he's not 40. He's like 31, 32. So he's still got years to give. And then the Bournemouth defender, he's been brilliant. The only downside is he's a left-footed centre-back. So can 2 left-sided centre-backs work together if you're going to play him with Van der Ven? Because Van der Ven apparently now wants to stay. So that's
and you had mentioned, I know you were not happy with Van de Ven.
But it was just his attitude. Like, but
Right,
I feel
right,
like
right.
I think the Zerbi's turned him around. Like, you saw
Right.
a lot of the players didn't like. A lot of the players liked Ange, even though we sucked in the Premier League. But
That's just crazy.
But
It's
then we
just
bring Frank in, and a lot of the players just clearly didn't believe in him. So a lot of players just mentally lost it with him. But I feel like Van de Ven now likes De Zerbi, so I feel he's probably going to be. I don't know. Will he be captain? Will that be him? Because he's been captain with Romero out, and Romero's definitely going. There's not, after the having to fly back from Argentinian nonsense. Romero's gone. Like, he ain't sticking around. Like, so it'll be interesting to see who the captain's going to be.
Very interesting, and Nuno Espirito Santo did ultimately did Spurs a favor.
And he's staying at West Ham, apparently. He's going to manage him in the Championship. He did a U-turn because the reports coming out a week ago were saying that he was going to leave if they go down, but apparently they had an extensive meeting.
Well, I guess the question is, do you want to have no job or do you want to have a job? Who's hiring him if he doesn't stay there?
I don't know, really.
Okay, exactly. So you want to have no job or you want to have a job? Paycheck or not?
It's true.
So I guess that's but that was kind of just a funny aside.
But Spurs making moves early before the transfer window even opens, like, that's something different. Like,
that is good.
I just want to see this club actually, care and actually do something like that, because under the bald man that we've had, Daniel Levy, forever now, he wouldn't have made these early signings already. He would have not signed Robertson this early. He would not have agreed, because I saw it was a verbal agreement for Marcos Senesi. But
we might have a problem with Marco Senesi, though, because I don't know how reliable this is, but Barcelona are sniffing.
Yeah. But
they need a centre back, so
yeah. So it's ultimately up to him whether or not he wants to stay in the Prem or go somewhere else. But at least on the table, he's got a verbal agreement. So you got two guys basically agreed to come here already. So that's already a good start to the transfer window.
I wouldn't mind John Stones, because I think he's very similar to Robertson. He brings you leadership and experience. He won't play many games, I don't think, but he'll add something to the team. Plus, you let Dragusin go, who's absolutely useless.
Like, he definitely not so good there. What are they going to do at netminder, at goalkeeper? Are we going to be relying on Kinski, or they go? I'm seeing things they're talking about. We know Vicario's Gonzo is going to be Gonzo.
Vicario's an interesting one because Inter Milan had agreed, like, in principle, to sign him.
Right.
There's no reports coming out saying that he may not go there.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Just please take your services elsewhere. That guy frustrated me.
Would you keep Vicario as a backup, though, if they guaranteed you that Kinski was going to be a starter?
I keep him as a backup.
Yeah, as a backup. But I
do think he goes, though. And I was it rumors of James Trafford?
Yeah, I just saw that.
But there's also been rumors of the Bayern goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And they've also been linked to Benfica's goalkeeper, because Benfica's goalkeeper also played with De Zerbi in Shakhtar, I think it was. So,
yeah. But you know what, guys? I think ultimately there's only one person or one thing to thank for this Tottenham resurgence.
It's De Zerbi.
No, it's Peppa Pig.
Oh, Peppa Pig. Spurs have had one loss since Peppa Pig, and that was the Chelsea game.
How can you argue with Peppa Pig? You want to talk about what's more popular, Peppa Pig or Taylor Swift? I think Peppa Pig is more popular. The power of Peppa.
Yeah, hey, we take Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig could be our next assistant manager next to De Zerbi.
I'd say so. I want Peppa Pig out there.
Peppa Pig will take over ownership over Enoch.
The funny thing is, though, right? This made me laugh when I found this out, right? Yeah, when Tudor came in, yeah, one of his assistants didn't even get his visa before the time that Tudor got fired. So this guy,
goodness,
this guy never even got to work at Spurs because he never got his working visa before Tudor and his coach left.
That is just absurd. There, absolutely absurd.
Oh, and apparently I forgot his name now. The guy that put out the first statement. What's his name?
Oh,
Oh God, I can't remember. I know who you're talking about too.
you mean from like the board, not the chairman, not that guy.
Not Vinny. No, the other guy.
Oh, Johan.
No,
Oh,
I forgot his name. But anyway, apparently when he came to Spurs, he didn't know how many players there were on the football team.
I saw that. And it was abysmal.
Oh my goodness. That is really that's sad. That's
depressing.
I have no
is
words.
I don't even know how you can bring somebody in who has that little knowledge. It's kind of like bringing in Paul DePodesta, a baseball guy, to try to talk about how to run a football team. You know, all that being said, again, fantastic. It's you celebrate the fact that you moved, that you didn't get relegated, but Roberto De Zerbi is talking business, and I like what actions over words, of course, but he's saying the right things about there's no time to vacation. Let's go. We got to start working. The season, you've got the World Cup jammed here in the middle of the summer, and it gets right back to action.
Which would be their normal excuse of, we can't buy anyone for 5 weeks because everyone's at the World Cup. Hopefully this time they don't use that lame excuse and actually sign players whilst the World Cup's going on.
Yeah.
Or at least agree deals.
Yeah, exactly. And so the World Cup's going to be very exciting. It is going to be starting in no time. What, June? Is it June 11th or 12th?
June 11th.
11th. Okay. This thing gets underway, being hosted in North America between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Hosting.
The opening game is Mexico against South Africa, which is a reverse of the opening game of the South Africa World Cup.
Okay, with their
vuvuzelas.
Are they going to allow vuvuzelas or vuvuzelas in the stadiums? Those things were annoying as all get out.
I used to love the vuvuzelas, but our previous dog absolutely hated it.
And
it was so bad, yeah, that our previous dog, Sapphire. But anyway, that after the World Cup, any time I watched a football game, the dog would literally go and sit at the top of the garden.
Aww.
Because of the vuvuzelas during the 2010 World Cup, yeah.
That is just, I am so sad, yet
she hated dog it so much that literally any time I would watch a football game afterwards.
The dog had good taste. It knew.
The dog would go and sit at the garden.
It knew. It definitely knew. Yeah, we're going to have to get in again. I think, as it's already late, we could talk. We'll have to talk a little bit more about the World Cup and break down the roster. But again, it's getting late here. And I don't know, folks. I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of stuff, a lot of things to touch on, and always more. So with that, I guess I would say stay tuned for us next week when we have all kinds of other things that have happened, and we'll pick up where we've left off here. What do you say, fellas?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Sounds
Mike?
Good.
All
Sounds
right.
Good.
Well, fellas, thank you very much. Glad we could all be here. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and stuck with us. I know it is late here on a Wednesday. I'm losing track of the days on the short week or short holiday week for us here in the United States with Memorial Day, so on and so forth. Again, thank you all for tuning in to all of the Land Multimedia Group shows. Just remember to get out to Dick's House of Sport in Strongsville, support them, a proud supporter of the Land Multimedia Group. Fellas, great show tonight, and looking forward to next week already. So for Mike Pellegrini, for Drew Hagenbaugh, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the Land, part of the Land Multimedia Group.